what is next for Master Roshi in the Dragon Ball franchise? I mean, what is next for Master Roshi in Dragon Ball Super? Let's talk about Master Roshi here for a second before we decide what's next for his character going forward. To be honest, no one expected him to have such an amazing renaissance, return to form in the Tournament of Power. I mean, it really all started back at Resurrection F when he took on some Frieza soldiers. That was a shock to behold. To be honest, we thought that Master Roshi was done after original Dragon Ball ended. I mean, really, after his fight with Tien in the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, or Tenkaichi Budokai, he essentially retired. And he even said, I'm going to pass the torch of protecting Earth and whatnot to the young generation, the new generation, to Tien, to Goku, to Yamcha, to Krillin, Chaozu even. But no one expected him to make this big return in Dragon Ball Super, mainly because in Dragon Ball Z, he was a spectator at best. He didn't even get to go to Planet Namek. He got a few moments in like the second movie, The World's Strongest. He got a few little battle moments, but he really didn't fight anybody. He didn't even get an opportunity to fight a Cyberman or something in the Saiyan saga. He just did not even factor into that fight, which is so surprising. I'm happy they brought him back for a fight. I mean, it was kind of unexplained. They said that he's been training off screen and that's how he's able to keep up. They've also referenced that he uses skill more than power to win battles, but at the same time he was kicking some major butte in the Resurrection F arc and in the Tournament of Power arc, especially in the manga when he went toe-to-toe with Jiren for a few moments. I mean, that one of the strongest characters in the entire show that isn't a god. It's somewhat unexplainable. I enjoy it because I hate when Dragon Ball is all about power levels, and if you don't have a high power level, you're essentially irrelevant. But Master Roshi broke that mold when he went toe-to-toe with Jiren in the Dragon Ball Super manga, and he showed that power isn't everything. It can be a lot, but you can overcome it with skill. And I love that, because a lot of really good manga and anime and just comics in general are good because you have characters that have different types of skill sets. They don't have to necessarily be the strongest character power level wise, quote unquote. But they can be powerful in different ways. I mean, for example, there's Rock Lee, who has his 8 gates that can boost him up at any point to match somebody like a Sasuke or a Naruto. So they have their own tips, their own tricks to get by. Or the Byakugan, he's got his own ability where he can shut off chakra points and whatnot. For a long time, especially in Dragon Ball Z, we were taught to believe that power is everything. And basically, if you're not on Super Saiyan 2 or higher level, you are pointless. I mean, Super Saiyan or higher in Dragon Ball Z at least, and now in Dragon Ball Super, a lot of the time, if you're not a Super Saiyan God, you have no place here in combat. Which, in my opinion, is a poor move, a terrible move in the writing department in Dragon Ball Super, and it gets very old very fast because you don't get to see the characters that built this franchise. Yamcha, Krillin, Tien, Piccolo, Master Roshi, you don't see them enough. I mean, I was so happy to see Roshi do so well in the Tournament of Power and do so well in Resurrection F for the moments he was able to fight some of these Frieza soldiers. Which, speaking of power levels, these Frieza soldiers were said to be around, 2,000 power level, maybe even higher than that. Weaker than Nappa, maybe. Maybe stronger than that, because, I mean, they weren't much of a threat to some of the stronger characters like Piccolo or Gohan. I mean, they weren't too much of a threat for Tien or even Krillin when he got his confidence back. They weren't that strong, but you got to assume they're at least at 2,000 power level. They're stronger than Raditz for sure, power level wise, and they weren't skilled in martial arts. So it begs the question, how strong is Master Roshi in Dragon Ball Super? How much stronger has he become? Especially since he did go toe-to-toe with Jiren. It can't all be skill alone, giving him the ability to mimic Ultra Instinct in a way by dodging Jiren's attacks, which is just... It just breaks the mold that Dragon Ball has set for us for many, many years now, which I really appreciate. It's just confusing for some fans. I could imagine being very confused. Like, how is this old man, people who haven't watched the original Dragon Ball, thinking, how is this guy able to keep up? How is he able to fight with the next generation again? He retired so long ago. But now he's back and he never quit training. We were led to believe that he retired. What's going on? I appreciate him coming back. One of my theories that I've brought up in a previous video, Master Roshi should have died in the Tournament of Power because it was such a touching moment. When Master Roshi almost died in the Tournament of Power, you felt it. It's been a long time since there was real stakes in Dragon Ball. Every time you see a new villain or whatnot that seems to be either Beerus and Whis are on the sidelines who could easily destroy this villain, this new threat, like in Resurrection F, if they wanted to. So it kind of takes the tension away. Or you have the Dragon Balls in your back pocket if anything goes wrong. Or even worse, when Whis rewound time in Resurrection F to just fix anything that went wrong, which is just ridiculous because they said over and over, we can't interfere, but then you go and interfere with time travel, when they probably could have fixed it themselves with the Namek Dragon Balls, of course, which I hate. I get so tired of there being no consequences for their actions. How is Goku going to learn from his stupid mistakes if nothing really bad can happen? That's why the Tournament of Power happened in a way because Goku was pushing it to happen. But I mean, the Omni Kings were going to do it anyway. At least that's what they were trying to tell us. But Goku pushed for this tournament, which turned out to be very bad for all these other universes because they were going to be eliminated, permanently erased. I'm not sure if that meant that they'd go to an afterlife or they are just erased from existence. In my video, Master Roshi Should Have Died, I talk about that since the Tournament of Power happened in a null realm, like a realm outside of space and time and all the other universes, maybe somebody, and there was a big rule about not killing other contestants or you would be disqualified, which was kind of weird since it didn't matter who died or whatnot. I thought that maybe if they let Master Roshi die there, maybe he would have been erased permanently and there was nothing they could do to bring him back. That would have been very interesting if they won the tournament and they got their one wish or whatnot and they weren't able to bring him back. Maybe they try to bring him back with the Dragon Balls on Earth after the tournament and they realize it's impossible. It's out of the dragon's power, even the Super Dragon, to bring Master Roshi back from this realm that doesn't exist between the universes, the 9 universes that were in the tournament. It makes you think, it makes you miss Master Roshi if he had passed away there, but they decided to allow him to live and move on, which is fine. But really, why? What's left for him? Retirement again? Irrelevancy? Becoming a spectator again? Why even bring him back at all? Just for fan service? I mean, we appreciate it. I appreciated it. And it was a really cool moment. He got a lot more time in that tournament than some other characters who also desperately need character development and a renaissance of sorts. Example, Tien, Krillin, Even Piccolo didn't really get his just desserts in that tournament, but Roshi got more than a good helping. And I feel it would have been a great way to send him off. And Goku would have to pay for this, for pushing for this tournament. Because he brought his friend Master Roshi, who probably shouldn't have been in the tournament to begin with, because he just wants to have a good fight, and he's such a lovable man, Goku I'm talking about. And he thought, why not? Let's just go have a good time, and we'll win the tournament, no big deal. But really, he should have been thinking, like, I could really lose somebody here. Obviously, he wouldn't know at the time that if you die in this world that you can't ever come back, which they could easily just say, and you could just do that. A character actually dying hasn't happened since Android 16, technically. Since he was a robot, there was no bringing him back. As a kid, I always wondered, what, couldn't you wish to rebuild Android 16? I don't know. They just weren't thinking about it. But that was the last big touching death that mattered to the story, because there was consequences. There was no coming back, and I feel that should have happened. But they let him live, and we moved on to the Moro arc, where Roshi and the Z Fighters got to fight once again, even Yamcha and Chaozu, which I also appreciate, seeing the boys back in town, ready to show where this whole Dragon Ball franchise was built upon, the shoulders which this Dragon Ball franchise was built upon. Roshi got to have a little fun bout with, I believe, a couple alien chicks. So they played the pervy gimmick up a little bit. He couldn't fight without a blindfold because they were beautiful women or something, which is fine. It was fine. I think it might be expanded upon in the anime, hopefully. But I just don't know exactly where that leads us going forward. Is he just going to be this novelty act that shows up every once in a while just to, I don't know, just to fight a little bit, play off the pervy gimmick, do the Kamehameha, do some of his old gimmicks, the Mafuba, which is fine. It's like when a professional wrestler who's old and he can't really keep up with the young generation anymore keeps coming back for one more match, but you kind of just cheer because you miss him, but he just comes back and does his greatest hits to less and less excitement. I think because Roshi was gone so long, it meant more in the Tournament of Power. And I think that even in the Moro arc, it was fun seeing Yamcha fight again because it's been so long since we've seen him fight. But I think if it continues this way, where the Z Fighters, the humans, and sometimes even Piccolo just show up to play their greatest hits and then let Goku and Vegeta handle the real business, then what's the point? What is the point of bringing these characters back? I want Roshi to have a purpose. If he needs to retire again, that's fine. But I think at this point, since he already went through an entire retirement in Dragon Ball Z for years, maybe he needs to find a way they need to find a way for him to die and not to come back. Or maybe he chooses not to come back, like Piccolo did in Dragon Ball GT, just because he wanted to be dead. I don't know. But maybe he's ready to pass on. Something sad and touching. But I think consequences for Goku's actions would have been the best way to send him off. And I think it might be too late now, since they kind of teased it. Well, it's never too late. They could do it again. They could set it up again. They could have Roshi in the middle of helping out the Z Fighters in another world-ending invasion or something. Or just the main villain is fighting the Z Fighters while Goku and Vegeta are getting ready again, training off-screen or whatever. And maybe Roshi dies. Maybe Roshi stands in the way. Maybe Roshi saves Goku, who's making another awful mistake from being naive for no reason, even though Goku should be a master at this point in the story. After all these years of making stupid mistakes because you're too good, you're too good-hearted, which is fine, but Goku should know better by now, and maybe losing somebody close to him like Roshi, that's what should be next for Master Roshi in the Dragon Ball franchise. There's nothing really left for him to prove, really. He's not going to ever compete with Goku and Vegeta. We all know that. There's no drive for it. He retired years ago, and yes, quote-unquote, he's been training off-screen, which is fine, but he'll never reach the tippity top ever again. He has no goals other than helping out when he can. And I think it's time to let some of these characters, especially Master Roshi, who's put in his time, who's put in his work. I find it weird that they really left him out of the Dragon Ball Z story when there was a lot of young fighters like Goten and Gohan who, yes, were stronger than him power level wise, could have learned from Master Roshi. That's something else that Roshi could do going forward in Dragon Ball Super. Goten and Trunks, their fathers are too busy for them to train them in martial arts, in fighting, and you can tell by watching the show that they just have no time for them. They only care about training with Beerus and Whis and one-upping each other, basically. But I feel Goten and Trunks, who also are in desperate need of character development, who have almost been written off for the most part, could have a training arc with Master Roshi, and they could be reminiscent of his training of Krillin and Goku. He could make them. It'd be kind of funny because they're already so naturally powerful. Master Roshi would have to up the stakes a little bit. They would have to basically go back to ground zero of their training, back to running up the mountains and whatnot. But I mean, since they're so strong, they would have to do a lot more to get tired. They would have to go back to the basics. That's one thing that they really haven't shown with Trunks and Goten, is truly learning the basics of martial arts. They were gifted by birth of being Super Saiyans so young. They didn't have to worry about training the fine points of martial arts, like little things that Goku is now just figuring out with his Ultra Instinct that can change everything, that Roshi's known all the time, this whole time. I think that Roshi could be somebody who could train this generation that hasn't had an opportunity to be trained. I know Oob down the line is going to have Goku as his master, which is fine. But Goten and Trunks are being ignored. Vegeta has another daughter who might also be ignored. Gohan has a daughter named Pan who might be ignored training-wise. These kids need an old master like Roshi to take it old school for these kids, to really show them, these whippersnappers, where their fathers learned, or at least where Goku learned how to fight to begin with. Go back to the basics. Use Roshi in that way. I'd be happy with that. If Roshi reignited his turtle school with the new generation and taught these kids how to really fight, how to really stand out and be a part of this story. And it's no longer the Goku and Vegeta show. We need to expand these other characters, and that's why I've been doing this What's Next series. And more than anything, there's really only two options for Master Roshi going forward. Either become a sensei to Goten and Trunks, or find a place for him to pass away permanently. Maybe face a villain that can erase you from existence or absorb you from existence. And maybe he sacrifices himself for Goku, for his student, who makes terrible mistakes time and time again. I think that would probably be my personal choice. I am a big fan of stakes, of loss. Loss moves the story forward. I'm not saying kill everybody off, but let Roshi go out with some style. Let Roshi go out with some respect. The guy deserves it, hands down. Master Roshi deserves a chance to go out like the old school master badass he is. What do you guys think? Where do you think Master Roshi's character should go going forward in Dragon Ball? Do you think they're just going to write him off into irrelevance once again, and he'll just be in the background for some pervy jokes going? Probably. That's probably what they're going to end up doing, because they don't think about the other characters for reasons I can't even fathom. But really, what they should be doing is have these mini arcs with these characters who deserve this, the characters who built this franchise. Give them more development. Give characters like Goten and Trunks a master to train under. They can help each other, like, symbiotically. They could work together to find a place in this amazing world that is the Dragon Ball universe that we've all come to love. But me personally, as an old school fan, I want to see Master Roshi find a place in the story. You don't have to always have the lens on Goku and Vegeta, and you don't always have to only bring these old characters back to fight the grunts, the fodder opponents. I don't understand that. Or have them be there to get their asses kicked by the main villain just so Goku and Vegeta can show up and win the battle in the end. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you do that to these amazing characters who really could carry their own show if they wanted to? If they wanted to do a Master Roshi spin-off where he trained Goten and Trunks, they definitely could. It would be fantastic, and I know fans would flock to it. If you could please subscribe to my channel, it would help me out. If you could like, share this video, comment, it would help me out dearly. If not, that's cool too. I'm Mr. Morfetto. What'd you think of this video? I'll talk to you later.